Unit 1, IBM Tivoli Storage Manager Overview. When you complete this unit, you'll be able to identify how Tivoli Storage Manager serves as an application for data management and data protection, identify major components of the Tivoli Storage Manager solution, and identify the additional Tivoli data protection products that are part of the TSM solution. Tivoli Storage Manager is predominantly known as a backup solution, but it is so much more. Not only can you back up and restore your data, keeping your data protected at your local site, you can use the archiving function to store data for designated periods of time. You can set and manage data expiration dates, set and manage your versioning of your data. You can even move data. In this slide, we're showing the components that make up TSM. We will be exploring the different components and then how they all work together to present a solution. For the server, we have our administrative scheduler, the database and recovery log, policy-based management, and all of this can be controlled with the administration center. The administration center is a separately installed component that uses a web interface to manage all of your TSM servers. Then we have storage pools and storage devices. This is where your data is stored. The backup archive client and web client acts with the backup archive scheduler. Then you communicate between the backup archive client and the server to manage your data storage and data protection. We'll discuss all of these components in greater detail. For now, I want to point out a few things. First, whenever you see the yellow triangle, we're talking about storage pool hierarchies. And when you see the nested boxes, this is a discussion of policy-based management. We have multiple types of interfaces, both graphical user interfaces and command line. The Administration Center GUI, which is on the Tivoli Integrated Portal, is what allows you to manage multiple TSM servers. Your Backup Archive GUI is on the Backup Archive client. It's a GUI interface to let you manage your client options as well as perform backup, restore, archive, and retrieve functions. The Web Client GUI is much like the Backup Archive GUI except that you access this remotely from a web browser. This gives you the ability to manage multiple Backup Archive clients. The Backup Archive command line is used to perform your backup archive functions as well as set some of your client options. The Tivoli Storage Manager server command line, also known as your administrative command line, is actually installed with the client but gives you an interface to manage your server. Included on the table in this screen is how to access the different GUIs and command lines. Don't worry about that right now. We will go into that in more detail. Now let's talk about the server. When we're talking about the server, we're talking about a server instance, not a physical system. So throughout this course, when we talk about the Tivoli Storage Manager server, we're talking about an application that's running on a system that manages your TSM environment. There are two schedulers included with Tivoli Storage Manager. One is installed with the server, and one is installed with the Backup Archive client. The administrator-defined schedules will allow you to automate functions such as backing up your database, backing up storage pools, and performing other tasks that you might want to have run during off-peak hours. The TSM Backup Archive Client Scheduler is used to schedule your backups, archive, restore, and retrieve operations. Like the server, when we refer to a Backup Archive Client, we're actually referring to the application. Just to note, a lot of clients, Backup Archive clients, are actually physically servers, file servers, database servers, etc. When we refer to Backup Archive Client, we're referring to the application that is running on a physical system. The Tivoli Storage Manager database, also known as the heart of TSM, is where all the metadata about your managed data is kept. For example, the location of your backup files, information on policies, schedules, your data retention values. This is all information that is kept in the database. Data is stored in storage pools. Information about that data, or metadata, is stored in the database. The Tivoli Storage Manager database, beginning with version 6, is run on a DB2 platform. The Tivoli Storage Manager recovery log works with the database. Transactions that have not yet been committed to the database are stored in the recovery log. This allows you to restore a consistent state of the database if you need to. The recovery log is actually 2 required logs and 2 optional logs. The active log and archive log are required. The active log mirror and archive log failover are optional. Storage pools. Storage pools are where your data is stored. By default, when you install the server, you already have 3 storage pools. You have the backup pool, archive pool, and space management pool. So by default, your backup pool is the destination for your backup objects. You can change this. You can create additional storage pools. As a matter of fact, it is highly recommended to create a storage pool hierarchy. We have an entire unit on this, and by the end of this class, you will be well versed in storage pools. Copy pools are, as they sound, copies of the data that you have in your storage pool hierarchy, which are considered primary storage pools. Policies. Here's our nested boxes icon that lets us know we're referring to policy management. With policies, you can set which files are eligible for backup or archive, the destination pool, by default backup pool or archive pool, the length of time you're going to retain the data, how many versions you're going to keep, etc. This will be defined in policies. For now, just know that you set the length of retention, the number of versions, and the locations with policies. Unit 6 is devoted totally to policy management. Backup and restore functions. This is what most people think of when they think of Tivoli Storage Manager. And Tivoli Storage Manager does this very well. You're backing up copies of your data, storing it in a different location, in this case in our storage pools. Copies can be taken off-site. Your data is protected. When you need the data returned, you do a restore operation, which is going to copy the files back. So we're dealing with copies, not the actual data. We'll discover all the different options you can use for backup and restore, such as being able to restore to a new location, when we talk about backup and restore in Unit 9. One of the reasons TSM is such a valid backup solution is it uses the progressive incremental backup methodology. This means only the new or changed portions of the file are backed up. This saves time in the backup window, and it saves space in your storage pools. All of the data is tracked, so at any time TSM can detect whether or not there's any new data to back up. Archive and retrieve is different than backup and restore in that you're not saving versions of a file for data protection. Archive is more for data retention. Let's say you have files that are accounting files from last year. You're not going to be using the files, but you need to keep them. You can put them in an archive package and let Tivoli Storage Manager store them. You can even set an expiration. If you need to hold files for 7 years, after 7 years they're no longer needed, you set a retention time of 7 years, archive them, retrieve them when you need them, and then after 7 years the data expires. It's a way of managing file retention. So again, the difference: backup copies files, can have more than one version. It can have inactive and active versions. and stores these files in the storage pools. If you need a copy, you can restore from your backup copy. Archive copies is for long-term storage. You can retrieve the information at any time, but it will be stored with the description that you give it. You're going to create an archive package that you can then retrieve at a later date. The Administration Center. Again, this is a separately installed component, and it uses a web browser and allows you to manage your TSM server instances. In our class, we'll be using the Administration Center as well as our command lines. Things you can manage with your Administration Center: you can manage your servers. There's a health monitor that you'll be able to review. Your enterprise management. You can create storage pools and device classes with the Storage Devices tab. You can create or copy policies, perform your server maintenance. We'll be using this to write a script that runs daily maintenance. You can also enable your disaster recovery management and integrate with Tivoli Storage Manager Fastpack servers.